Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Oh Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Oh Gaura He Gaura He Gaura He Gaura He Gaura He Oh Jaya Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Radhe Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda 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 Radhe Jaya Jaya Radha Gopinata Radha Gopinata Radhe. Oh Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Oh Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Shri Shri Guru Garanga Ganhavaka Kiri Hari. Radha Vinod Vihari Ju Ki Jai. Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Omasto Tarazara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Omasto Tarazara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Amasto Tarazara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Mahabhagavat Shila Gaura Kishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Shila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Arupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Ananta Gota Vaishnava Rinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Om Agina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Prabhajantamanapetyam Apetykrityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tammayatayo Taravo Binidustam Sarvabhutam Hridimanani Anatoshmi Bhaktiya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptasta Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanada Vrindam. And first of all, offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again unto our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And unto the lotus feet of our beloved Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. And all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, and our Rupanuga Guru Vargya, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. So, it's working okay? Coming back to our Falshruti, glorification of Jaiva-Dharma. I think we're on the first 5 now. Prithivite yata kata dharme name chale, Bhagavata kaisa paripurna chale.
As indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, and second shloka, all the philosophies on the earth that are celebrated as dharma are utterly deceptive.
Chale dharma charit kare satya
Satya
dharma
dharma
mati
mati chaturvarga tyajidare nitya prema gati. One should completely abandon such deceptive dharmas and observe his mind in true dharma. In other words, one should give up the fourfold goals of material life, dharma, arth, kam, moksha, and aspire solely for the ultimate destination of nitya
So
prema.
this dharma, artha, karma, moksha is what many people in this country, India anyway, believe is the spiritual direction. It's like the groundwork of Varnashram system. So they believe in moksha, as we've said, liberation. And many other faiths in the world also believe in liberation is the ultimate goal, because they haven't got the education about the personality of Krishna. Our Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was very explicit when he was Vishesh, not as something abstract, but very definitive, very clear. Who is Krishna? Where does he live? What does he do? Etc. Relationship we were saying yesterday.
Amit, Amamsa Brahme Nija Jada Buddhi Nirvishesha Brahmyanena Yajashruti. Those who are deluded identify that
Shakti. And Jiva Shakti is coming from the Chit Shakti. We are of this Antaranga Shakti, but we have been associated, this like Nishag, this acquired nature, with the Bahiranga, the lower, because we're made of Tatashta. This is what our whole topic has been about for the last few weeks.
is their error. However, one cannot be purified of such delusion by endeavors for Nirvishesh
Yes,
Brahmagyan.
just by merging into the Brahman will not solve the problem. Just by going to Shantaras will not solve the problem. That must be, as I just said before, the personality must be woken up that's the only aspect that's going to satisfy the jiva. Yayatma suprasidati. He'll become satisfied when he has that personal relationship woken up. Nothing else will really satisfy the jiva.
Vichitrata hina hale nirvishesha hoy kala samaturya aprakrita nai. The Mayavadi thinks Sri Krishna to be subject to the limitations of time, such as birth and death, and considers that he is not transcendental.
That means he doesn't have faith. He doesn't actually faith in something superior to himself. He can't conceive of the spiritual reality. And I've said many times, like the frog in the well, we're trying to use our material conceptions to appreciate something that is beyond material. And that's our fault. That's our failure. That's our error, as is described here. And this will create a Mayavad tendency of actually seeing that Supreme Person as limited in his qualities, etc. Carry on.
Thus, he rejects Sri Bhagavan's Vichitrata, astonishing characteristics, paraphernalia, qualities, and Leela. Through this vicious attempt, he is left with the philosophy of Nirvishesh Brahm.
Why is he saying constantly this Nirvishesh Brahm? Because that's moksha. This is the only alternative if you don't go for the supreme relationship. You're going to go to the impersonal one. So all of our practice is to hear about the pastimes. I was saying yesterday how the Leela is so important. We hear again and again the beautiful Leelas of Krishna. Anugrahaya Bhaktanam Manusyam Deha Ashrita Bhajate Tat Rishi Kritva Yashrutva Tat Parobhavet. This is saying in the 10th canto how Krishna manifests his Rasa Leela just to attract the jivas to his pastimes. So they will start to think about the pastimes. When we're chanting, what are we thinking about? We want to be thinking about Krishna's pastimes. If you're thinking about Krishna, are you thinking about Krishna and wanting him just to help you with your difficulties in the material world? Or are you actually thinking about Krishna as the little son of Mother Yashoda, or as the beloved of the gopis, or as the dearmost Saka of Subal and Sridham? How are we seeing Krishna? How are we thinking of Krishna? We should examine and appreciate how we are remembering the Supreme Lord. There are so many beautiful pastimes. There's the whole first 9 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, but this is mostly concerned with the Aishwarya aspect of Krishna. It's only in the 10th canto. It's the 10th canto that really reveals the full-blown personality in Madhurya, because this is essential. My Gurudev used to say, everyone is Kanishta until they understand this distinction between Madhurya and Aishwarya. This is so essential to understand. We were describing something yesterday of that. But this Madhurya mood of the Brijbasis towards Krishna, this loving mood, this is what we're trying to raise in our hearts. And we can only do that by remembering the beautiful Leelas. Like when Krishna performs his Ras Leela, and then the gopis become too proud of their good fortune, that's Sobhagya, and then Krishna leaves with Radha. Radha is seeing that Krishna is dancing with everybody. And then she becomes disturbed because she knows that this is not going to produce the highest result, because all of the gopis are manifesting from Radhika. So she must be actually honored as the principal origin of the Kaya Vyuha. But if they are thinking that they are more than Radhika, then the absolute pinnacle of the sweetness cannot manifest. So a beautiful pastime ensues where Radhika leaves, Krishna leaves also to pacify Radhika's man, and the gopis are in such fraught, desperate separation that they're even taking on the moods of Krishna. It's described they're like a bunch of mad women going from forest to forest in the dark night, looking, searching for Krishna, completely unmad, completely mad, looking for Krishna. And then Radha and Krishna are walking together, and Krishna's thinking, he can hear the gopis looking for them. And he's thinking, if they find me with Radha, it will make a problem, because then I'll be seen as just being with Radha. So actually, I have to leave Radha somehow. And also, simultaneously, he wanted the other gopis to see just how intense Radharani's separation was. They were thinking how intense was their separation. So then Krishna, he's serving Radhika. Radhika is in the highest mood now. These Leelas, they're all about moods. She's in the highest mood called Swadhina Bhartika. She's controlled her lover. So then Krishna says, do you want to keep walking? Radharani says she's tired. So Krishna says, do you want to come to a flower bed? Or shall we keep on walking? And Radhika says, I'm too tired. She can also hear her girlfriends. She wants her girlfriends now to catch up with them. Because Radhika manifests all these different gopis to please Krishna. This is why she's manifested them. But they're all searching for Krishna. So then Krishna says, sit on my shoulder. So when Radharani goes to sit on his shoulder, what happens? Krishna disappears. Then Radha, hey, what is it? Hey, Nata Ramana Prishta, Kwasi Kwasi Mahapuja. That Radharani becomes so distraught. Dasyaste Kripinayo me. Sake Darshayan Sanidim. Her separation is so high and intense. This is actually the same verse that Madhavendra Puri was chanting, but with a different language. Ayidina Dayadrinatahe. It's the same verse. So then Krishna has disappeared, and immediately, because Radharani's intense bliss was so high that now her separation mood is so extreme, because Krishna has disappeared. So in that intensity of separation, she's rolling on the ground, weeping so intensely, changing color. And the gopis, they all find her like this. And then all of them, even Chandravali, she's thinking, because a woman's heart is naturally soft, they see the suffering of Radharani. All of them see that her suffering in separation is much greater than theirs. So then Radharani is established as the queen of the rasa. Everyone appreciates, yes, her separation is much higher than ours. And simultaneously, all the different groups of devotees, of gopis, the Vipaksh, Tatastha, Surit, they all become united, supporting Radhika, the Swapaksh. Before they were in the 4 different camps, but now they all see Radhika, so they all join together. So now there's harmony everywhere. Radhika has been arranged to be the queen of the Ras Leela. And then they have their beautiful song of separation, the Gopi Geet. And then Krishna appears, and then the beautiful Ras Leela comes. But this is just an amazing pastime. It's so extraordinary. We can hear it again and again and again. It's described that when that Radharani is going to, Krishna decides to disappear, because Krishna has been in the mood of submissive, Dakshin Bhav it's called. And Radhika is in the mood of Bhamya, this Swadhina Bhartika. She's controlling her lover. Now all of a sudden Radhika has said, oh, I don't mind where I go. You can take me where you want. All of a sudden she's become submissive. Krishna was already submissive. So now both the bhavs are the same. So now there's no rasa. The waves aren't so strong. So now Krishna has to leave. So it's so beautifully arranged. So this is what we meditate when we're chanting, particularly the affection of the gopis towards Krishna. They are ready to die. to engage with Krishna. So our bhajan should be like this, of this quality. This is how we become personalists. If we're always thinking of the philosophy and the tattva, that's going to eventually harden the heart if we're not thinking of the lila. We must have the tattva, but then we must have a bucket full of lila also to drown the tattva.
Kande gyan hoya dharma ache sunishchaya prakriti hoyle kabu aprakritanaya.
Such base and contemptible gyan, which arises out of an attempt to dismember the divine form of Bhagavan, is only fit to be rejected. It is prakrita, materialistic, and should never be given credence as aprakrita dharma.
So what actually is transcendental? It's not the bliss of Brahman. It's not the Brahmajyoti. Now, I'm not saying that lightly because all the devas think that that is transcendental. All the devas, their spiritual master is Brihaspati, and he's described as Brahman realized. So all the devas can only reach the Brahman. They can't go beyond that. What to speak of people in this world if they're not connecting with transcendence? How do you connect with pure transcendence? There's only one way, and that's through a transcendental master who already has that seed of transcendence. There is no other way. You have to have the living guru who is transcendentally situated, and he can give you that connection to transcendence, nothing else. There's no other way. Bhakti comes from bhakti. Bhakti sanjataye bhaktya. That pure transcendence comes from someone who has that. You can't get it through gyan. It doesn't come that way. Certainly doesn't come in moksha. Okay, so we'll come back to our subject matter. We've almost finished this chapter 16. And just to refresh a little bit, so you can tell, you came today. You saying you weren't going to come.
Changed the plan. It's Tuesday now.
Tell us all the 5 stages of consciousness without looking at the book. Can you tell?
The Bhadajivas, no?
Yes, the Bhadajivas. In 5 stages of consciousness, this is what we discussed yesterday. The last thing, you weren't here, Prabhu, but these 5 stages of consciousness are very important to appreciate. And what are they?
Achadita Chetana, the 3, the Sankuchita Chetana.
Shrunken, yes. We can think of Sankuchita Chetana with the S as shrunken consciousness. It's like the animals, etc., insects. Yes, yes, very good.
Mukulita Chetana.
Very good. Mukulita is like the middle one. It begins with an M. Mukulita, we can remember it like that. We have to make tricks in our minds so we can remember. Yes, and then? Very good.
And Purna Vikashita.
Excellent. Well done. Well done. 10 out of 10. Very good. Achyuta, you can say? Come on. Try. Acharya Chaitanya, first one. I bet she can say.
I don't remember, but I remember all explanation. Who is he?
Okay.
His trees.
Can you remember?
Animals.
Why not? Can't be bothered to learn it. Too much trouble. It's helpful for you. It's helpful for you. It's helpful. Tell me. Tell me. If we're not prepared to learn a little thing like 5 stages of consciousness, how are we expected to enter transcendence? Prabhuji. Govinda Krishna. Krishna Govinda. Yes. 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 Very good. Excellent. Well done. Well done. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's very, very helpful. I mean, all these things, what else? We have a brain. It has a capacity to learn. It's like a muscle. If we exercise it, it'll get very strong, like learning verses, etc. It's very healthy for the brain, for the mind. The mind wants to absorb itself in something. If we're not absorbing ourselves in this, what are we absorbing ourselves in? What am I going to eat today? Where am I going to go today? Who will I speak to today? All these topics. But if we absorb ourselves in these Achyuta, you look a very smart person. You're not. No, why you not learn this?
I remember what kind of
Achadita Chaitana is the first one.
yes.
Anyway,
Three
try.
I can explain what inside.
Okay.
What it means.
Okay.
I think
It's helpful
important.
because today we're going to go in 5 different types of stages right at the end of this chapter, and they sort of relate to the other 5 stages. But if you haven't learned these 5 stages, it'll be not. Yeah.
Can I make one question
Mm.
about the Achadita Chetana?
Mm.
Because in the purport, Babaji says that it includes the trees, the creepers, the stones,
Mm.
and we can see that they have consciousness because they pass by the 6 transformations of life.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't understand. Sorry, but about my ignorance, but I don't see the transformation life in the stone.
No, it's not. It's not visible in the stones. We just understand, we've heard from scripture that sometimes, often, jivas reside inside the stones, but you can't see them. They're just. We're going to discuss today one devotee who was cursed to be a stone. So it gives us an idea of that.
But in this case, the natural stone
Yes.
has a jiva inside.
Some of them have jiva.
Some of them.
Not all of them. Some of them, not
Because
all.
not all matter.
No.
has
But some. Some jivas take shelter in stones, mountains, etc. We just have to accept that with faith. But, you know, for the rational mind, it doesn't make sense. But after some time, Krishna will illuminate you. He'll give you a little picture one day, and you'll see. When we think of Giriraj Govardhan, for example, you know how he manifests. He's a mountain. That's a stone. His body is made of stone. So it's there.
Brahma Parvat.
Brahma Parvat, yes. Someone sent me a question here. Oh. Okay, so yes, we discussed those 5 types of consciousness yesterday. And then we come to this last page now, 372. Okay. So, Gokul, you like to read? Top of page 372.
Vrajanath. Which jivas have slightly budding consciousness? Mukulita Chetana. Babaji. Conditioned jivas with human bodies fall into 3 categories. Those with slightly budding consciousness, Mukulita Chetana, those with developed consciousness, Vikasita Chetana, and those with fully developed consciousness, Purna Vikasita Chetana. Generally, the human race can be divided into 5 groups.
Now, this is correlating with these 5 types of consciousness. Otherwise, why would it be put in the same paragraph? Why would it be put in the same answer? So we can see that those who are engaged in Bhav Bhakti will be that Vikashita, Purna Vikashita Chaitana. Yes, they will be in the topmost. So like that. So he's giving us another example of these 5 types of consciousness that are relevant in human society.
Generally, the human race can be divided into 5 groups. Number 1, immoral atheist.
What's an immoral atheist?
Who doesn't follow the rules and regulations.
Doesn't believe in God and only follows the laws of adharma. Immoral atheist. And most of the Western world are immoral atheists. That means they're on the, like a stage of Achadita Chaitanya as far as their development in consciousness is concerned. Okay?
Number 2, moral atheists.
So a moral
Atheist.
An atheist that has some sort of discrimination.
Yeah.
Yes.
Number 3, moral theists.
So a moral theist has both. He's a believer in God and he has some moral principles also.
Who have both morals and faith in Ishvara.
Mm-hmm. So now that's like on the human
Mukulita.
platform.
Mukulita
Mukulita Chaitanya, yes.
Number 4, those who are engaged in sadhan bhakti.
Now that means Vikashita
Vikasita
Chaitanya.
Chaitanya.
So they are much more advanced if they're engaged in sadhan bhakti. When we ever read sadhan bhakti, it means those who are focused on bhav bhakti. It's not sadhan unless you're focused on bhav. It's not sadhan. Because what are you doing? What is the focus? What is the goal? Where are you going with your sadhan practice? If it's not focused on bhav bhakti, then it's not really sadhan. It's like a yogi. It's something else.
Number 5, those who are engaged in bhav bhakti.
Yes. So that's the topmost. Those who have reached the stage of bhav bhakti. That's purna vikashita Chaitanya.
Those who are knowingly or unknowingly atheist are either immoral or moral atheist.
Yeah, either. They don't even know sometimes that they're atheists. They just don't have any idea. They don't think about God. They don't think it's important to consider why they're here, what are they doing. That's all they think. And most conditioned souls are like this. We have to see what this chapter is giving us. It's giving us a whole very large picture of our condition here in this world.
When a moral person develops a little faith in Ishvara, he is called a moral theist.
Yeah, that's good. Something's happening.
Those who develop interest in sadhan bhakti according to the tenets of Shastra are called sadhana bhaktas.
Yeah, that's the people like who just go to the temple. Maybe they even chant some Hare Krishna mantras, but they're not really focusing on what is Bhav Bhakti. Bhav Bhakti, the description is moksha lukhata krit sudurlabha. It's very rare, sudurlabha. And this moksha lukhata krit means they have no interest in mukti or moksha. That's what Bhav Bhakti means. It means I'm not interested in moksha or mukti for my own benefit. Bhav Bhakti is that stage where my whole consciousness is becoming submerged in devotional service to the personality Krishna, in a mood of, it can be Vaidhi Bhakti or it can be Raganuga Bhakti. It can be either. Bhav can also manifest in the stage of Vaidhi Bhakti, but it's Vaidhi Marg. It's different to Rag Marg. This is not what Mahaprabhu has come to teach. Advaita Acharya, Nityananda, they can give this Vaidhi Bhakti. Nityananda actually can also give Bhav Bhakti, but he doesn't. Mahaprabhu gives that through Rupa Goswami.
Those who attain bhav bhakti through Vaidhi bhakti, what will be their destination? Will it be
Vaikuntha.
Vaikuntha?
Yes. We
Those
see like Bhishma Dev. His destination was Vaikuntha, was not Goloka Vrindavan, even though he was remembering Krishna with great attraction, but nevertheless his mood was Aishwarya. He was a great Kshatriya warrior. He had great principles, etc., that he'd received from his grandfather Janu Maharaj, and so much majesty was there. So that's the Vaikuntha region.
and those who have developed some unalloyed love for Ishvara are called Bhava Bhaktas. Both
That means here Bhav Bhaktas, these are higher than the Vaidhi. This is referencing Rag. Bhav in Rag, not referencing Bhav in Vaidhi. That was previously.
both immoral and moral atheist have slightly budding consciousness. Moral theist and sadhan bhaktas have developed consciousness, and the Bhav Bhaktas have fully developed consciousness.
So he's given these 5 stages of consciousness in humanity, amongst people generally. They have these 5. First of all, it was the very broad, the stones, the animals, etc., and then 3 about the general humans. But now these 5 are being layered just onto the humans to consider. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur has broken it down like this. He's made it simple for us to appreciate the distinctions between the jivas. Many times, if we're in ignorance, we think that all jivas are the same. We think like that sometimes, but they're not at all. Not at all. If someone isn't practicing Satan Bhakti or Bhav Bhakti or any spiritual process, they are preoccupied with their material upliftment only. They're preoccupied with their various attachments, their family, this and that and the other, their reputation, how many thumbs up they get on Facebook, things like this. All of this mood of bodily identification. But the sadhan bhakta, who is really performing sadhan, he quickly comes off that material platform because he's focusing on bhav bhakti. Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhav. Sadhanabhida nitya siddhyasya bhavas. This bhav bhakti, Rupa Goswami has written like this. What is bhav? Bhav is a ray of prem. Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma Prem Suryavam Samyabhak. Ruchi Bishmishnu. Bhav Ashu Bhav Uchyate. That bhav is a ray of prem. We cannot get to that stage of prem in this body. The body will explode. It won't be able to contain it. But we can reach the stage of bhav. And if our practice is not focused on, and if we don't know what is bhav, then we have to read the 22nd chapter of this book. It will describe exactly what is bhav bhakti and the 9 symptoms of bhav bhakti.
Vrajanath, how long do the Bhav Bhaktas stay bound in Maya?
A very good question, because we know the story of Jad Bharat. Jad Bharat was in the stage of bhav, but then he fell down again and took 3 more births, or 2 more births, a deer and Jad Bharat, to purify his conscience. So you can fall from the stage of bhav. So read the answer.
Babaji, I will answer that question when I explain the 17th shloka of Dashamula. Now it's quite late, so kindly return to your home. Vrajanath returned home, contemplating all the tattvas he had heard.
Okay, so this is like the conclusion, basically, of the jiva bound by Maya. So this is an incredible chapter for appreciation of why we are in this material world and all the different, very relevant questions that Brajanath asks. Why didn't we go straight back to the spiritual world? What's the determining factor? And what is Babaji saying constantly? The jiva has independent choice. Krishna has independence, so the jiva has independence. Independence is like a jewel. You have to have independence on this. This makes you a human, this makes you a jiva, because you have this jewel of independence. If you didn't have independence, you would never have the choice to love Krishna or not. So we're in this predicament for this reason. But we're suffering because we've turned away from Krishna. This is what it's saying in the chapter, Vimukh. And just remember this beautiful equation, and then you'll remember the whole of the Jiva Tattva. When I turn away from Krishna, what happens? Tell me what happens.
We are enamored.
When we turn away from Krishna, one thing happens.
Offense, aparad.
That's an aparad, yes. Now what happens? In the heart, desires must come for material enjoyment as a consequence, because aparad means immediately I'm disconnected from Krishna, from service to Krishna, from the bliss coming from service to Krishna. So now immediately I'm disconnected from that. So I'm hungry to regain some bliss. But if I'm not taught, if I don't have the Bal Shakti, if I don't have guidance, guru, sadhu, sangha, etc., then what's going to happen? I'm going to try to exploit the material energy. And what is the result when I'm trying to enjoy the material energy? Equals? Suffering. Very good. Very good. You got the equation right. He's a professor of mathematics, by the way. Yes. But he got this most important equation. This is the most important equation. There's many equations, Pythagoras and all the rest of it, algebra and this, but this equation. So Vimukh is the first. And the result of Vimukh is that material desires must come in the heart. Krishna doesn't have to do anything. It's a process. As soon as you turn away from Krishna, then immediately material desires come. If you're walking in the street and you're looking at all the different things you want to buy, you think, oh my God, what offenses have I committed? Why am I being attracted to this material energy? We should think like that forever now. Now we've understood. When this attraction for material objects rises, what offense did I commit to make that attraction come? You understand? If I suddenly want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. And then what is the result of that? Adhyatmic, adhibautic, adhidaivic. Suffering. It must be suffering. Doesn't matter what you do. In the end, it's suffering. If you're the most wealthy king in existence, if you're a big controller like Lord Brahma, you still have suffering. You can't avoid it. From Brahma down to the ant, there is suffering for the jivas who have turned away from Krishna, although Brahma is a devotee. But nevertheless. So now we've got these footnotes. I want to read them today, so you can read them, about Ahalya.
Commentary in the form of chapter notes by Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj.
This is to illuminate your point about the jivas in stone. This is to give an example of the jivas in stone.
From page 371. Ahalya, the wife of the great sage Gautama Rishi, Indra, the chief of the Devas, was infatuated with the beauty of Ahalya.
Ahalya is the wife of the great sage Gautam Rishi. That's her name. And then
Indra, the chief of the Devas, was infatuated with the beauty of Ahalya. Once, in Satyuga, while Gautam Rishi was away, Indra assumed the form of Gautama by mystic power and had union with Ahalya. When Gautam returned, he could understand the whole situation through his yogic power. Furious with his wife, Gautam cursed her to become a stone. Ahalya was deeply aggrieved and fell crying at Gautam's feet to beg for deliverance from the curse. Gautam consoled her by saying that in Treta Yuga, when Bhagavan Ramachandra would appear on the earth, he would touch the stone with his foot and she would thus be delivered from the curse.
you see, this is an example of someone who became. It's working properly? Okay.
Normally, Satyuga is followed by Dwapara and then Treta in the cycle of the 4 yugas. Ahalya appealed to Gautam, saying that she would not be able to bear waiting so long for the appearance of Ramachandra. Gautam assured her that in this particular cycle of the 4 yugas, Treta would follow Satya.
Yes, normally it's Satya, Dwarpa, Treta,
Treta.
Kali. But in this time, it's Satya, Treta, Dwarpa, Kali. Because of this reason.
By the desire of Gautam Rishi, the order of the yugas were reversed. When Ramachandra appeared, he touched that stone with his foot and Ahalya was released from the curse. Thus, Ahalya, who had assumed the form of a stone, was liberated from the state of covered consciousness, Achadita Chetana, at which time she was reunited with her husband.
So Ahalya was given that state of Achadita Chetana. Also, the Jamal Ardun trees we will read here now, they are also given that dullness of consciousness, that the consciousness is not inspired towards higher thinking. It doesn't have the capacity like an animal. So this is very, important to appreciate. Levels of consciousness, they're fixed. Okay.
Yamala Arjuna, the twin Arjun trees. Formerly, they were Nalukuvara and Manigriva, the sons of Kuvera, the treasurer of the Devas in the heavenly planets. Once, intoxicated with sensuous desire and accompanied by many young ladies, Nalakuvara and Manigriva were sporting naked in the Mandakini river. The sage Narada Muni passed by at passed by at that moment. The ladies at once covered themselves in shame and fell at the feet of Narada to beg his forgiveness. However, Nalakuvara and Manigriva were so intoxicated that they took no notice of Narada.
We should understand Naligriva and Manikuvera. Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, the sons of Kuvera. They were so wealthy. They're like aristocratic children, so that pride had gone to their heads. This is what this pastime is about.
Seeing them bereft of all sense, Narada blessed them by cursing them to take birth as trees. Thus, they were born as twin Arjuna trees in Gokula. When Bhagavan Sri Krishna appeared in Dwapara Yuga, he delivered them from the state of covered consciousness by touching them with his lotus feet.
So we know this story. We sing it every Kartik. This Dambanda Lila, very beautiful. Actually, he doesn't touch it with his feet. I don't know why it's saying that here. He touches it with the grinding mortar that is tied to his waist. The current is coming through there, and that connection is enough to tip the two trees over. Very incredible, extraordinary pastime. But it's an example of a Chadita Chaitana again.
Sapta Tal, the seven Tal, palmier trees, palmier trees. In Treta Yuga, the monkey chief Vali once procured seven succulent tal fruits. He kept them aside and went to bathe, thinking that he would enjoy them later. Upon his return, he discovered that a poisonous snake had already ruined them. Vali became furious and cursed the snake to obtain the body of a tree. By the potency of this curse, the snake at once manifested as seven palmier trees, Saptatal. The father of the snake was acutely distressed and cursed Vali in return that whoever could pierce all seven tal trees with a single arrow would be the cause of Vali's death. Later, Sri Ramachandra accomplished this feat to assure Sugriva of his ability to kill Vali. In Kalyuga, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled to South India to deliver the jivas of that place, he came upon the Saptatal trees. Upon seeing them, he became overwhelmed with prema and rushed forward to embrace them. As soon as he did so, the trees disappeared. By the touch of Sriman Mahaprabhu, they were delivered from the state of Achadita Chetana, covered consciousness. When the local residents witnessed this astonishing event, they could understand that Sriman Mahaprabhu was directly Sri Ramachandra.
So we should understand that the mercy that Mahaprabhu gives us in this age, just by chanting Hare Krishna, our consciousness can be purified also of its dullness of associating so long trying to exploit the material energy. Okay, Bharat.
Bharat, the eldest of 100 sons of Lord Rishabhadev, who was a Shaktavesh avatar, an empowered incarnation of Sri Bhagavan.
Rishabdev, yes.
Although his father was a Brahmin, Bharat exhibited the nature of a Kshatriya, and thus he acted in that capacity. By the desire of his father, Bharat was enthroned as the emperor of the entire earth. Nonetheless, he was a great bhakta of Sri Bhagavan. After ruling the kingdom for a considerable time, detachment awakened in his heart for the world. Dividing the kingdom and his possessions amongst his sons, he went alone to the ashram of Pulaha Rishi in Harihara Kshetra to absorb himself in worship of Bhagwan. Once, after bathing in the river Gandaki, close by his hermitage, he sat down on the sacred banks of that river and began to chant Sri Nam. He was he saw a thirsty doe drinking water, and looking around cautiously, just then she heard the fierce roar of a lion nearby, and out of fear jumped into the river to cross it. She was pregnant, and due to her sudden jump, the baby deer fell out of her womb into the current of the river. The doe died after crossing the river. Bharat's heart melted. He ran and picked up the drowning motherless baby deer, brought it to his hermitage, and began to take care of it with great affection. Bharat's affection for the baby deer gradually increased, and as it did so, his sadhan bhajan decreased until he finally gave up his devotional practices completely. One day, he could not find the baby deer and he started lamenting, ha dear, and overwhelmed with grief, finally gave up his life. In due course of time, he received the body of a deer according to his thoughts at the time of death.
We say this yam yam vapi smaram bhavam tyajati antikarevalam. Whatever you're thinking at the time of death, then that's what you take birth as. So Bharat was thinking of the deer. He was totally absorbed in the deer. So then he takes the body of a deer. Yes.
However, due to the influence of the devotional practices performed in his previous births, he could remember the cause of his fall down and became repentant. Leaving his parents, he again went to Pulaha ashrama and was delivered by hearing the holy name.
Mm.
This is an example of contracted consciousness, Shankuchita Chetana.
Mm.
Similarly, if a renounced person or a hermit becomes attracted to women, etc., he certainly falls down from his exalted position. Some people put forward the theory that one attains the human birth, which is the best of all births, through a natural progression, and that one does not fall down from it. Such a proposition is quite wrong and very misleading. One takes birth according to his desires, and there is no scope for changing this principle. Bharat demonstrated this principle through his own life.
So this last few sentences is most important, that it's not natural that you're going to get another human birth. It's not fixed. Only according to our thoughts at the time of death can we attain a higher birth or a human birth. If we fall down during this birth into degraded mentalities, then we're going to get a degraded birth in the next birth. That's what will happen. So this example has been given of Bharat Maharaj on the 5th canto. So now we've completed this 16th chapter, and tomorrow we'll start the 17th chapter, but we should just appreciate where we've reached. So Amnaya Praha on page 282, you can see the verse. Amnaya Praha, these are the evidence that is going to support the 9 pramayas. Then Tattvam Harim Iha Param. Then Sarva Shaktim and Rasabdim was described in the 14th chapter. And then Tad Vibhunam Sams. This is described in the 15th chapter with great detail. And we've just completed now this Jivan Prakriti Kuvalitam. This Kuvalitam means swallowed. What is the predicament of the jivas who are swallowed by Maya? So that is very relevant for all of us to appreciate. So that's a very important chapter. And then tomorrow we'll begin the jivas that are influence towards Bhav Bhakti. Cha Bavad, or these Tad Vimuktans, Cha Bavad. Yes, these jivas who are attracted towards spiritual life. Well, the title of the chapter is those jivas who are free from Maya. That's the title of the chapter. Okay, so we'll start that tomorrow. Does anyone have any questions at all about anything? No? All clear? Okay. These truths are very strong for us, you know? This is called Tattva Siddhanta. If we have this Tattva Siddhanta clear, then my Gurudev used to say, if you know this Dasmula, you can sit in any assembly of Vaishnavas and speak fluently the truth, because you have a platform of Siddhanta. So it's really, really important to appreciate all these truths and have them consistent. It's best to know the verse. And if you know the verse, then you can scroll. It's 3 about Krishna, 3 about the Jiva, and then it's Achintya Beda, Beda Tattva, and then it's Sadhan Bhakti, and then it's Priti, which is like Prema Bhakti at the end. So that's the breakdown of it. But we should know that. If you know that, it'll be very, very strengthening in your practice and your journey. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhabhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. Shri Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Beautiful book.